What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Cocktails Dirty Discussions. This is a very special Patreon bonus episode. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on Patreon. Without further ado, instead of doing a Get Ready with Me where I give you the updates, this week we have a guest, and I want to welcome Miss Amy Taylor to Cocktails. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me. And
Thank
thanks
you.
to all the Patreons. Thanks for paying for your content, you guys. It really helps. And then you get cooler stuff that doesn't get like kicked off major platforms. We
That's the
can
other thing.
speak more freely. So yeah, pay for the content you like, people.
Yeah, and on YouTube, luckily, none of our episodes have totally been taken down, but we get demonetized. Like, we don't really make money from YouTube
Right?
because of the content. Even on like our more vanilla episodes, they will flag it. Even last week's episode, I can't remember exactly what it was that we were talking about, but I know that it wasn't anything too wild or crazy. It was like it's an age restricted video and all of this. So, behind the paywall, it's easier. We can speak more freely. It's more casual. I mean, I'm literally sitting on my bed. But anyway, so someone reached out to us about Amy Taylor and having her as a guest on the show. And so I responded, I was like, okay, well, sounds good, but like, could you tell me a little bit more about her? And then Amy responded and you sent me all these links. So I was doing some lightweight stalking online. Because we get a lot of people who reach out to us, and maybe they've been guests on other podcasts before, and maybe they haven't. But I was watching you and listening to you on different episodes. One of them was with Holly Randall. And I really enjoyed that. Holly Randall's podcast is on the same network as ours, Pleasure Podcast. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I was like, okay, I want to talk about some of these same things just in case nobody listened to it and I'm curious. And then I just kind of want to get into your life. So, in the email, the initial email, they said, and you said, you like to destigmatize sex work. You are a professional model, very beautiful. I was looking at your website. But I did notice, and I'm not mad at you, a lot of your things are behind the paywall. You get a little glimpse. Amy is not paying around. And I love a woman who is about her money because she's not an Instagram model. It's like you need to pay. So I thought that the wording on your website was interesting. An exclusive model. What exactly does that mean?
So the SEO, so all the words written on the website were written by my attorneys for search
Okay.
engine optimization. So they're a little wonky. A lot of the sentences don't make sense. I wanted to include things that were more real, but they don't rank. So frankly, the text, I've actually only read it once, like when they first did it about 8 years ago. I probably should update it. They file copyright and trademark like every year of intellectual property, but the text is written for SEO. So things
That's
like,
interesting. I
yeah,
thought
things
it
like,
was just a classier way to describe what's behind the paywall because you do have exclusive content, you are modeling, you do get these private pictures, even looks like you had podcast episodes that are there too.
yes.
And so I was like, okay, well, this is a better way to word it. That's all I thought it was.
I just knew. So I'm on all the socials. I just use them all as loss leader feeds to run my pay site. And I built my pay site almost 2 decades ago.
Oh, wow.
CC Bill takes a lot, but they're a good adult biller. You do have to obey the laws, and they've managed to stay legal in America, which gets harder every year because of nonsense, sex phobia, whatever. We can get into it, but CC Bell does a great job. They have great customer support. The people who pay me, they do well, but they do take a lot. So it costs a lot to run a pay site. I built it out more and more as I could afford to. But yes, the only place that you will see pretty sexy stuff, much more personal stuff, much closer to my real life, is inside my pay site. I don't put that anywhere else. And the reason I don't is because some of it costs me a lot to produce. Other is private. Other is far sexier. No hardcore gonzo porn, but some stuff that's quite nude. And I'm not giving that ownership to anybody else. I file US federal trademark and copyright of all my IP. I can do DMC takedowns of anybody who tries to steal it. Those are very easy to do. Thank God for Bill Clinton doing that law. And that's because I own it all. And the reason I did it that way, even at a lot more work, a lot more overhead, is because when you own it all, I can dribble it out wherever I like, but I retain ownership. And that has turned out to be, over the years, really important when people try to build copycat websites and steal it, when they try to, I can just go around them to their host and get them shut down. I do it every week because people try to
So
steal.
like if somebody maybe made an OnlyFans, stealing your photos, and then you would just contact OnlyFans, this has to come down.
Yeah, because otherwise we're going to sue OnlyFans and they don't want it because they're going to lose because of intellectual property law. So
Right. That's pretty cut and
rather
dry.
than fight me and waste 200 grand fighting me when I'm going to win, I have nothing but time and money. I'm going to go after them if they make me.
Yeah.
I'm very sweet if people treat me correctly, but I'm vicious when I'm unfairly wronged. And I will.
Understandable.
Well, it's my life, it's my survival, it's my food and my shelter, and I take those things very seriously. Now, 99.99% of people don't fuck around, don't steal, of course. Most business is just people trying to survive and do business together, which is great. But I take it very seriously when somebody tries to steal. Now, if I've modeled for other people for a paycheck and signed a release, that's not my content. I don't own it. They
Right.
do. I once went to the Hustler store in Hollywood and found a picture of me on a dildo box. It was just a
Like,
bikini
wait a
picture.
minute. Yeah.
I signed a release. They own it. That's where it ended up. Not my problem. So it's different modeling. If you sign a release, which often when I get in the chair for somebody else, before they even start hair and makeup, here comes the iPad with the release. I've done podcasts where I've signed release and later maybe wished I didn't say everything I said. 99% of podcast hosts are nice people who don't want drama and are willing to edit out or work with you because they're not psychos,
Uh-huh.
and they don't want to make enemies. Because if they make people look bad, they'll run out of guests and they'll fail in 5 years. But some have I did a podcast that last month that completely humiliated me, and
Oh no.
well, it's fine. It's the internet cares about things for about 3 days now, so who cares?
Yeah.
But
Was it editing or something you said or something they said?
it was a long one, long
Ooh.
format of several hours, and so in that long of several hours, you're not going to say everything perfectly. No one can.
Right.
And it was a bit of a political debate show, which I'm very bad at. Stupidly, I thought I'd be good at it. I was not. I got decimated.
Yeah, I stay away from those.
Yeah. Thank you. I wish I had talked to you before that.
Right. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's
So
interesting to hear you say all of these things because we have had other people who do things similar to what you do or just are in the sex industry in some capacity. And most of the women, there's maybe been one or two men, I want to say. Most people are not doing their due diligence when it comes to this sort of thing. I mean, you built your site, you said almost 2 decades ago, so you're not new to this. And I'm sure there were things that you had to learn along the way, but I think that it's good that if this is the line of work that you choose, that you make sure that you know what you're doing, because that's a part of it that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of times we focus on, what does your family think? I do want to know that. But what does your family think? What do your friends think? And because your profession is so intimate, how does that affect your actual personal life? I know even just talking about sex on this podcast affects my personal life. So I can imagine what sharing sexy photos or anything else that you may do can do. So what does your family think?
Well, so I've always had like gold digger stank on me.
Uh-huh.
I'm 20,
Hey.
I'm a 27% Jewish girl, and I can say it, you can't, but maybe it's the Jewish girl thing. I joke, don't at me, internet racist. I'm kidding. Like, I have never dated broke guys, and I never would. I like them, and they like me. So, like when I was in college,
Period.
I was dating a doctor instead of dating frat boys that couldn't buy me dinner.
Smart lady.
Well, other women date somebody that's tall or has huge muscles, or I could give a fuck if a guy's tall or has huge muscles. I care about one thing. How great does he make my life? And that's in every way. I don't think looks are important. Everyone gets old. We don't. I've loved men who were conventionally pretty ugly, and they were fascinating and brilliant and funny and kind. I do not care. Everybody looks good in the dark. If he's going down on me, I can barely see his face. I don't give a fuck.
Well, that's true. Okay.
But why is it more legit just to date somebody who, for his height or his muscles or his dick size, but being a bit of liking him to be successful and yeah, be able to take you on vacations is somehow more evil. Also, all of
Mm-hmm.
human history, women have preferred successful men because we didn't have access to our own money. It's
Right.
very recent. Women your age who can make as much as their partners, that's a phenomenon that's existed for like 3 decades, maybe. We've only worked
Right.
we've only worked for like 60 years and it was bullshit jobs for half of that. So like
Mm-hmm.
within my lifetime, a woman couldn't get a loan or a credit card without a male cosigner. That's within my lifetime. So
And
like,
it seems like they're trying to dial it back
dude, they
to
might.
having less rights for us. So it's like, it's not only is it about survival, this is what we're taught. Yes, vote. Is what we're taught. It's just how life has been forever. And I think it was somebody who maybe was unattractive and also didn't have money, and
Oh,
they banded together and they decided we are going to stick together, because one thing the men can do when it comes to tearing down women, they will stick together on it. And they have just put it in our heads that something is wrong with you if you want marriage or relationships or just a man in your life for anything outside of money. And while money isn't everything, like, you can like somebody with money who's still a good time, and people act like that doesn't exist. All of the debates online where it's like, okay, would you rather have a rich man with no time or a poor man with all the time? It's like, that's not always how it goes.
no.
And I'm taking the rich one with no
I've
time.
dumped many rich men because they didn't behave correctly. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm so awful. Men who hate me, you got to
Mm-hmm.
be rich and you got to be nice to me.
And
Also,
that can exist,
well,
right?
I like nice things and I'm not paying for everything. And also,
Mm-hmm.
we've done a disservice to ourselves by lying to men about how expensive it is to be beautiful. The only men who don't complain about that are rich men because they foot the bill. They know how much hair, makeup, nails, trainers, nutrition, the best food. They know how much it costs. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't care and they're happy to do it. And they actually like the flex. One of my ex-boyfriends, he said, I love icing you out, Cartier, Rolexes, all that, because
Yeah.
no other man can compete with me. And I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
It's very
fun.
showboaty, and I'm here for it.
I mean, and if you don't like women who like rich guys, then fine, bye, go for somebody else. There's plenty. And these men
Or
who
get
hate,
some money.
well, these men who hate women, pick one. You're mad at the feminist women who make more than you because now you got
Mm-hmm.
to be nice and be an actual partner because she doesn't need your money. And then you're mad
Mm-hmm.
at older women or more traditional women worldwide, like most of the Eastern European women who expect you to provide. Like, dude, pick because it's gonna be one of the other guys.
Yeah, like the passport bros are crazy. Have you ever seen or heard of the show 90 Day Fiance and all the ones that go with that? It's so crazy to me how they will treat American women one way, but then you go to this other country to get somebody, and the whole time that you're talking to them on these websites, they're asking for money. Their phone is broke. They don't have a camera, allegedly, because they need money to fix it. You're sending money and you still don't see it. You're showing up to the airport to pick them up, but this is who you choose. Well, you have me, who's right here, and you can send me the money, and my cameras work. I got a bunch of them, you
And
know?
also, that third world woman is only with you because you're American who has more money. You're gonna immigrate her whole family. She's
Right.
she
Because
is
that's the plan always on those, at least on those shows. I won't speak to every woman, but on those shows, it's always the plan. They're trying to get their family over there. They will come over here, leave their children behind, and then try and get them here. It's also much cheaper typically to provide for these women where they live versus bringing them over here. That's a bigger bill. So if you don't really have it like that, it's going to be tough. Now, if you have less money, but she lives somewhere where it's not so expensive, you'll be all right for a while till it's time for that 90-day visa.
it's just envy. I think a lot of people are envious of a lot of men are envious of wealthy men who can do more for a woman than they can, and I get that. Um,
Hmm.
a life with a rich man, assuming he's nice, of course. Don't date a jerk if he's rich or poor, but it is better. Private jets are nicer than flying on United.
I can only imagine. I
The
can't wait.
Almans are
One
nicer
day.
than Marriott's. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but they do expect you to be beautiful, but they're happy to help with a very high bill for that. They do
Hmm.
expect you to behave with class in their circles because bad manners are unacceptable. But I have
Hmm.
no problem with that. I was in a sorority. I was a debutante. I went to etiquette school. I like good manners. I actually find vulgarity pretty off-putting. I'm old. And so they like me and I like them. It's what fits, and it'll never not be funny to me that that makes people angry. That just means we're not a match any more than if you liked blondes, you wouldn't like me either. So I
And
mean,
that's fine.
there's 4 billion women you could date. Don't worry about the ones that don't want you. You only need one, and I guarantee there's one who likes whatever you are, including if you're less wealthy. I know many women who feel scared of a wealthy man because his higher power level financially is intimidating. They would rather date a man who's less wealthy, and that's cool too. Do you?
More for
Just do
you.
me? I like rich guys. It's actually literally a kink. A guy who can like fly me by private jet to dinner in a hotel suite. It literally turns me on.
So can you give me like one or two of your most lavish dates?
Sure, a guy we flew from LA to San Francisco for a dinner at Quince that he had the chef create for my birthday.
What is Quince?
It's
It
a
sounds
great
rich. I don't
restaurant.
even know what it is. Okay.
Hey, take this lady to Quince. It's a very good serious Michelin restaurant.
Oh.
I think it's 3 stars. It's at least two.
Okay,
I
I'm
think
gonna look it up when we get off.
And then we got the penthouse suite at a beautiful old hotel on one of the hills and had a great night and flew home in the morning. And we dated for years and he was lovely. He's with someone else now and I wish him all the best. I miss his jet. Um, no, things run their course and that's okay. But I've had somebody on the third date was really into me and decided to charter a jet and fly us to the Super Bowl. Um, I've had guys be like, let's go to London to go shopping. We went, once an Australian guy wanted to fly me to Paris on a rainy weekend to just run around in the rain together. We got caught outside in this warm summer Paris rain, and it was so great.
Have you written any romance novels? Because I feel like you have a wealth of experience to draw upon to write some amazing books. And your voice sounds good. So when you put the book out, you could
Thanks.
do the audible version and voice your own things and keep all that money for you. Because I know you about the money.
I just think there are some men out there who are just still very romantic and they really enjoy making a woman happy. Some of that is material, yeah, dinners and vacations. And some of it is just the way they act. I used to date somebody who brought me my coffee in the morning exactly the way I liked it. And so it was the little things that he remembered what I liked. He didn't even drink coffee, he hated it. But that was as nice as all the jewelry and stuff. And it made me want to do good for him. He liked his back scratched as he fell asleep. And I had no problem doing that for him because it's this thing of when somebody wants to make you happy, you want to make them happy.
Right.
And yes, some of it,
Reciprocity is a real thing.
I was broke when I was your age and younger. So yeah, it was nice that a guy could help me have a nice apartment and be safe. Any guy who any guy who's coming over to your apartment every couple days also doesn't want you living in a shithole because he doesn't
Right.
live there, especially if he's a
He
rich
wants to be comfortable when he gets there, you know?
guy. And when I was in grad school and I first started hanging out with rich guys, like I had negative money. I'm in grad school. I have no income and tons of bills. So like it was totally normal and yes, they're still nice. This weird fantasy people have, they love to think that women like me are dating some rich guy who's abusing us. Well, that's cope. That helps you feel better about yourself. But no, these men are actually very nice to us also. And it's
So
literally
where are you meeting them?
internet.
Because I know that that's what everybody watching this, all of the girls want to know. How are you meeting these men? So you say the internet, but what is happening on the internet?
Oh,
How does this transpire?
wealthy men are not totally on the socials yet, but they are a little bit. But they find your website, they look at models, they slide into your DMs, they do read magazines that you've been on, and they go and figure out who that lady is and find out if you're single. I'm on a couple of dating apps that are invite only. They're a little bit more prestigious than Tinder and
Tinder.
what's the other Hinge and shit. Although I met a billionaire once on Hinge, so
Really?
yeah, I
So
mean,
there's hope, girls. If you're not on the invite only, maybe you might get lucky.
and it's about what you will tolerate. I would never, if a guy asked me on a date and didn't, and his next question wasn't where he should send the Uber Black, then there is no date. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, but that's normal. I mean, no man
Mhm.
of class would ask you to buy your own Uber. That's ridiculous. Um,
Mhm.
so it's about what you'll tolerate. I also wouldn't dream of showing up to that date anything less than well-mannered, perfectly rested, polished. So it's a give and take. I also spend money to date. Nails and hair and dresses and dry cleaning and shoes. They're not free. Nothing's
Right.
free. Living isn't free.
Nothing.
I live in
Yeah.
Manhattan. They joke leaving your house is
Woo!
$250. So
Yeah, and from what we can see in the background, it looks very nice. So you're not living in a shack, you're not slumming it. And that's another thing. Like
I don't know.
sometimes with the guests that we've had, they will tell us these stories and experiences, and sometimes I think it's definitely important to destigmatize sex work. No one person in any industry is having the same experience, just like any other industry, right? Some people are really doing well, and some people are faking it till they're making it, and some people are just, they might should switch. It just depends on what's going on. But sometimes we have had guests on the past and they've come on the show and they tell us these things, but then it's like you're telling us you have all of these things, and they are the ones who are leading the discussion of material possessions, and we don't see them. Do you think that when people are doing that, they are trying to convince themselves of something, or why could that be?
You know, I've met people of lots of different finances and lots of different spending levels, and
Uh huh.
their net worth will change because, as they say, it's not what you make, it's what you save. Um,
True.
I've met very wealthy men whose homes were surprisingly not that nice. Not terrible, but like,
But I mean, other women
yeah, and
who might be on the
some of them have a
receiving end, other
spending.
models or companions or
It's hard
different
to know
types of
what
sex
people,
workers.
yeah, it's hard to know what people have. A lot of women make a lot of money, but they've got a spending problem. It slips through their fingers because I went to a girlfriend's house once in LA, and she had all kinds of expensive dresses with tags still on them on the floor, like Gucci. You know, she had a spending problem. So
Okay.
she ended up poor because she didn't save. Some
Mm-hmm.
people rent a $20,000 a month apartment, so they're not saving, right?
Mm-hmm.
I live beneath my means. I always have because I don't want to be a broke old lady, and that's coming soon. I'm 47, so
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I don't have to run around or do anything. But it can change on a dime. We just had a sex worker, high end companion in Vegas 2 weeks ago, murdered by a guy who was good looking, seemingly nice, military veteran, the kind of guy any of us would have seen. Uh, and she was a model and a single mother and beautiful girl. And she's dead now because they haggled over price and he snapped and he killed her. And so when women say they
Wait a
want,
minute. That is
yeah,
so crazy. I'm
our
gonna have to look that story up.
story,
You said it was in Vegas?
yeah, at the Cosmo, read about like Las Vegas escort they love to use or whatever murder.
Mm-hmm.
It's recent and he's in jail now and it'll be a court case for a while. And I don't know what happened, but you say
Uh-huh.
that women want to know how to do this, but I will tell you there is the good. Yeah, sure, I've been on private jets. Sure, I've got some nice stuff. I've got a little tiny bit of savings. I'm not that rich. I made like what a doctor made.
But you're
Um,
comfortable
I'm maybe we'll
because
see.
you've made smart, I mean, right now, you're
Yeah, and
comfortable
I've got a
because you've
long
made
time
smart
to live.
decisions.
And
Mm-hmm.
nobody really gives you that kind of money when you're 75. So my career will
Mm-hmm.
not go this way. It will go down, much like athletics or modeling. You make your money when you're young-ish. Some men
Mm-hmm.
like escorts in their 50s and 60s, but very rare. The
Mm-hmm.
market is smaller. You don't make what you made in your 30s and 20s. And that said, there has been some bad. I had a pimp want me to sell sex for him, and I refused, and he tried to murder me. I had to put him in prison. This is about 10
Mm-hmm.
years ago. I have had stalkers. I've been outed to my family. I've lost jobs. I've had to move. I've had
Mm-hmm.
neighbors say they didn't want me living around them, even though I did not do any kind of OnlyFans in my apartment or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am proud to stand up for sex worker rights, and I always will. But that has cost me friendships, housing, jobs, boyfriends. There's a definite cost to choosing this life. If women really want money and a long term runway with society's respect and a future, I would say learn digital skills and do something else. Do not do this. It's too hard. And
Digital's where it's at.
even if you survive like I sort of have so far,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. And society telling you you're scum and making life difficult for you. If I told my health care what I've done for a living, I would lose my medical care, right? You have
I didn't know that.
Sure, you have to lie a lot to survive, and
Why
that's
would
really
you
stressful.
Why would you lose your medical care?
High risk, multiple partners over the years.
Oh.
Not really now, but like
Mm-hmm.
but yet you can be any kind of slut you want on Hinge, and somehow that's okay. But
Well,
if it's
because
just
when the regular sluts like me go on to go to the doctor, we're still gonna lie to the
well,
doctor.
this is
We're not.
it.
I didn't have as much sex as I really did. I might, maybe I had as much sex, but not as many partners. We all do it. And
Well,
then
this
it's
is
just
how you
like the
get
shame. The
sluts.
doctors are old. Oh,
Yeah.
usually old men.
Hmm.
Even the women. Actually, many people
Yeah.
do not agree with me on this, but in recent years I have preferred having a male doctor.
Interesting. Why?
Um, just based on my own personal experiences, I usually had a male doctor. I had three women gynecologists back to back. I didn't like any of them. Um, because they were very dismissive when I complained about period cramps or complained about heavy bleeding, things like that. It wasn't even the sex stuff, right? I did lie to them a little bit, but not like a whole bunch, but I did lie a little bit about like, okay, maybe I had sex with two people since I saw you in the past 3 months. I'm gonna tell you it's one
Yeah.
because we'll be fine. But when I'm talking to you about these things, it's like, oh, well, this comes with age or this comes with this. It can't be that bad. Like, you look okay. And it's like, okay, yeah, because I got cute before I came here. Do I need to come in here looking like I'm on my deathbed for you to understand? And I've gotten used to it. So maybe I don't look like what you think. The men were more sensitive to my pain that I was talking about and other issues. And I don't know what that was about, but I was like, I thought I was going to feel more comfortable with a woman. And unfortunately, I didn't. But I do know that most people do feel more comfortable with women. And it's a toss up. So it goes to speak to it's about the individual, really, is what
Mm.
it boils down to. But I
It
hate that we
can
do feel
be
like we have to lie.
well, yeah. So everybody lies about sex all the time
Mm
to
hmm.
everybody, their friends, their neighbors. I'm so tired of it. That said, there can be a visceral mistreatment of young, beautiful women by older women. It's almost animalistic. Like, you guys are swimming in estrogen. You're fertile. Men love you because you're
Mm
cute
hmm.
and all that. It's like hormonal. Men can smell you because you're able to make babies. And sometimes old women can be witchy and evil. I think
Mm
that's
hmm. And I
terrible.
hate that.
Well, and it's not all. Some old women will be like your big sister and your mom, and
Everything
that's
you want.
yeah. But that, and obviously men tend to be nice to younger women because there's this sort of animalistic, visceral thing of wanting to take care of you
Mm
because
hmm.
But then some men can be awful to you because they wish they owned you and they
Mm
can't.
hmm.
So yeah, when people cave to their worst instincts, which are usually envy, if when an
Mm hmm.
older woman is for some reason mean to you, that I would suspect envy. You're young, you're beautiful. She maybe isn't okay, she's not unhappy that her time in the sun is passing, which I think is so shitty. Like, everyone has their
It
time in the
really
sun.
is.
Like, there are great things about being like the elder lady, like bog witch in your 60s. Like, you get to be like the wise one with the crazy gray hair. Like,
Mm
old,
hmm.
older women should embrace that chapter instead of being envious of no longer being the nubile thing in her 20s or 30s. Like, it's nasty to be envious. In the same way we were talking about broke men being so nasty about richer men
Mm
that they're
hmm.
totally jealous of. Like, envy is at the root of a lot of problems.
Yeah. And I hate that, especially amongst women, because it's like, you might share with a friend or someone something that's going on, and then some people, their first thing is that person is jealous of you, that person is envious of you, or something like that. That can, and honestly, a lot of times is very true. But I try my hardest to think of any other reason before I get to that, because I don't want to end up in this like train of thought where I'm always thinking that somebody is jealousy. They want what I have, or they see something in me that they wish that they had. I don't want to get like that. But I do think that that happens a lot. And I'm just like, okay, maybe somebody's having a bad day or whatever. But it's like, girl, you're not my girlfriend. You're supposed to be my doctor. And now I got to switch providers.
Well, or maybe, I mean, sometimes they're, yeah, burnt out, bad day. I don't know. There
Mm
is the dismissiveness of your real discomfort and like, yeah, the day two, like day where it's like one tampon doesn't even like
hmm. Mm
last.
hmm.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
and I
a like me.
it's not real. Like, dude, I'm the one living it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's odd. I mean, there's just a lot of shitty people in a lot of professions, and so it's good that you switched. Maybe
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with male or female. I don't. That's odd
Yeah.
though.
Sometimes I think it's just like something else in their lives, or maybe it could be age. I don't know what it is,
Dude,
but I hate it and it's hard.
a
It's
lot
but
of old people get so salty. I was on a plane coming
mhm.
back to New York yesterday, next to this guy who was really wanted to argue about politics.
Oh gosh.
And he just couldn't resist and he wanted to yell at a woman and he was just so angry and older and I the coolest people on earth to me are old people who are still delightfully alive and happy because it's
Yes.
possible. You know when you meet like a
Yes.
super happy old person and they're so cool.
Mhm.
I don't know why this man was talking about how New York wasn't great like it used to be and he couldn't afford it anymore and he was going to move and he hated New okay.
Okay,
I felt
bye.
like maybe he was getting pushed out, retired,
Mhm.
city doesn't isn't what it was for him when he was younger. I don't know. But
Mhm.
I sensed a lot of pain and maybe we don't treat old people with enough respect. Maybe when they retire, they don't get to feel relevant anymore. But
Yeah.
that's on them. They could volunteer, they can stay relevant in other ways. My dad retired and he's busier than ever doing all the things.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know why so many old people get so cranky. Maybe they just
I don't
hurt.
know.
I don't know. Their backs
Yeah,
hurt.
like physical discomfort, discomfort in every part of your life. Bills are high. It's like, I'm old. Have I not worked enough? Imagine if you don't get to retire. I was talking to my friend yesterday and I was like, he was like, why are you still working? Why are you still working? I said, I've got to get this, got to get to the money. Like I have so much to do. The bulk of things are relying on what I am doing right now. And people can say all of the fun stuff, all of the empowering women things. Oh, you're not old, all this stuff. Yeah, whatever. I literally went to one of these influencer platform websites where they help you get different brand deals, right? Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. I am not Gen Z. And it's like all this stuff about Gen Zs, and basically like I couldn't join because I'm too old. And I was like, yeah, they're pushing us out. They didn't even care about Instagram. It was all about TikTok. And I'm like, that's fine because good for the younger girls. I'll pass it on to my sister and my brother. Maybe if they are ever interested in these things, they will have the resources. They don't do anything like what I do. Well, my sister actually works on the back end of social media, my Gen Z sister, and then my brother. We don't know, but I sent it to him too, and I'm just like, that's crazy. And people will tell you these things are happening or it doesn't matter, but it does. And it's not that you have to be sad and cry about it, but it's just like, okay, how do you pivot and how you work with it? So,
Yeah, it's
it's
interesting. I
hard.
mean, all the wealthiest people I know would are not on any social media at all.
Mm-hmm.
They manage a lot of young people, but they themselves don't want to show their face on anything because they like privacy.
Mm-hmm.
They're richer than anybody, and no one knows their face. And maybe they have a LinkedIn with no photo, but that's about it.
Yeah. I've
Um,
been trying to figure out I know how to do a lot on the back end of just like this industry, podcasting. My background is in broadcast journalism, radio and TV, and I still work in radio as well, but I've really been focused on digital things and strengthening my skill set there and networking, trying to get more back in things. I'm still open to hosting or anything where my face is out there and I need to be in the forefront. But I know that this only lasts so long.
yeah.
And I want something that also doesn't depend on somebody liking me. I would like to pass that on to somebody else. I could work for a company that is producing podcasts and it doesn't matter who the hosts are. My job is there because all I'm doing is putting things together. And I think that that is important. I want to ask you, what do you think is something that you can do as we spoke about age and getting older and the market being smaller and smaller the older you get? What do you think you will do as you continue to get older?
Yeah, well, so I do the other things I like to do. I fly planes, and I enjoy that.
You
Um,
fly like fly pilot?
yeah,
I did read that. You
I
have a
have,
pilot's license.
I have all my instructor's licenses. So which means I have my commercial tickets. And then I typed in one, but then the Great Recession hit, so I never flew it. as the Canada Air regional jet, the 900, not the 200. But I've flown cargo and charter in a couple of different turboprops, Hawker Beechcraft stuff. I'm not going to say what
How
because
was that?
I love it. My mom's dad was a pilot, so it's probably in the blood. But I will continue to do that. Although it turns out I've inherited some electrical problems in my heart. Like my dad's got a
Oh.
pacemaker in his 80s. It's fine. It's holding up for now. But I suspect pretty soon here I may not be able to pass what's called a class 1 medical, which is what you take every 6 months to be able to fly for pay in any capacity. I've never worked for the airlines, but cargo, charter, flight instructing, towing banners on the beach, anything, any paid flight job, I may not be able to do if I can't keep the EKGs normal as I age. That part of my life may be over. That's fine. It wasn't making me rich. I can still pass a class 2 or 3 medical, which don't require an EKG at my age, and I can then fly for fun. And honestly, the happiest pilots are the pilots flying for fun. So I probably will fly more. I will continue to stand up for sex worker harm reduction and rights. That's important to me. I want my world to be less harmful for those coming up than it was for me. And that it's not even connected to what I think about sex work or whether I like it or not, because it's definitely a problematic industry. However, it will always be here and always has. I want it to be better because it's super shitty for a lot of the people in it. And at times was for me. And so I'm going to continue with advocacy. My family's pretty political. My sister's brave enough to put her reputation on the line in California, trying to speak about loving somebody who's a sex worker, me.
It's important.
She's a brave lady. She doesn't fight for sex workers, but she fights for other kinds of laws. But she stands up for us bravely. And even some people have been horrified when she said that. But in California, which is a very compassionate state, they're starting to think differently about sex work. And I think this country can do a lot better by them. And again, you don't have to like sex work, people, for you to agree that most people who are in it, who are young and broke, are not just throwaway people. Most people only do sex work for a little while. They're not weirdo lifers like me. And so these are not throwaway people. They become business owners like you, that moms, lawyers. I know thousands of retired sex workers that are doing all kinds of things now in their older years. And you can't just think that because somebody did sex work, they deserve to be punished forever and sort of die or be judged. You don't just throw
Ostracized from society. I agree.
It's nonsense. You're wasting talent and a future person who can contribute and usually does. So
And it seems like the people who are so judgmental about it, a lot of y'all are paying the sex workers. You are fueling the industry, but it's like you have what is this thing that you have going on where it's like you're fighting against yourself. You don't want to protect these people, but you will pay for their services. I don't understand.
there's was it Arab saying, men love pain. Just
They do.
I sometimes think some people just want to be angry because being angry raises their cortisol and adrenaline and it makes them feel alive. I think right now on the internet, what we're seeing is the only thing that sells better than sex, OnlyFans and porn, is rage. And these rage shows, rage podcasts, rage news shows, are shows with panels of people just talking shit to each other and fighting. That's selling better than sex because it's every bit as much of an addiction. People are addicted to their anger. And look, those shows are making money. I think they're horrible. I think if you're trafficking in rage, shame on you. Shame on you. But, and I honestly hope it ends. I'm all for free speech, but I think trafficking in rage hits up against the limits of free speech because you're ruining people's lives and their emotions, and you're making society literally unstable, and you're making Americans hate each other or other people in the world. This doesn't just exist in America for money, for clicks and likes and traffic. And we had it when I was young. There was a show called Jerry Springer where they would put poor people.
Oh, I know about Jerry Springer.
Remember that? They put poor people on there. They get a free.
And they sell the DVD. I mean, not DVDs. It was VHS tapes, and they
Remember?
would sell them.
Yeah. You're too young to know that. But they would.
I was a kid, but my mom used to love watching Jerry Springer, and I think my stepdad would buy the ones where the girls were like flashing and stuff, and then
They
we
would
would
get
triple
them
X in the
drunk
box.
in the green room.
That's what was happening.
Yeah, they'd get them drunk in the green room so they'd fight more. It was shameful, and shame on Jerry Springer for making his fortune that way. He didn't care. He was agnostic on it all. He was just doing it for money. And you know, people look at sex workers and say, you sold porn, you like rich guys, you're an evil person. Well, trafficking in rage, I think, is more evil.
At least somebody was having fun with me.
I mean, right? Nobody got hurt, but yeah.
Right.
So I think I'll continue to work in the advocacy space to the degree I can. I think I
Mm-hmm.
will be a little old lady, and I will get definitely have at least one little dog, and I will live in Manhattan and up on the Upper East Side, and I'm just be rich and crazy and wear pearls to bed and have my do charity with my little old lady friends.
That
I
sounds like a dream.
honestly, I don't know whether or not I will date men. I like them, but I've dated lots of them, and I think if I choose not to do that, I'm going to be just fine. There's love everywhere. I will have love. I have a million friends. I have family. People love to say on the internet that I'm lonely. Dude, I have 25 people a day I can go to
Is it
dinner
because you're
with.
single?
Well, because I do these shows alone, people think
Oh.
I exist alone. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if I want a date, I can get a date any night I want.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of men like older women. So I will have love in whatever form that is. It may or may not be a man. It might just be neighbors and friends and family. But I won't
Mm-hmm.
be lonely. I
Those
like
those relationships are very fulfilling and they usually last longer.
that's my
Um,
favorite trope when they say that ladies are going to be like old cat ladies. Like, do you think that
mm-hmm.
old ladies don't have friends? Like,
Mm-hmm.
they have
And even the old cat ladies, sometimes they are very content. Everybody's not a people person. Some people are introverts. They do not care about that. They can go and have their routine. As I've gotten older, even now I'm looking forward to being even older, like old, like a true senior citizen, because there's something that comes with that where it's just like, okay, you are who you are. Some people do not respect old people, but many people still do. And I hope that they will by the time I get old. And it's just like, you've lived your life, you have all these experiences, but you're still here to see these new people experience new things. When I talk to my friends who are moms, I am not a mom, I'm a dog mom. But they talk about this excitement that they have for their children and watching them see new things and see the world and have all of these first and
Mhm.
just how excited it is. And I'm like, well, I don't plan to have children. Who knows what'll happen? I don't plan to have children. I have my dog and I love her. I've had her since I got her right before New Year's, and her birthday is in September. And I have been enjoying this journey. I cannot, I'm going to be sad when she passes. Hopefully, we can go at the same time. But I enjoy her so much, and I do get excited. And I know it's not the same as a little kid, but it's interesting to see. And so, yeah, it's just
There's
kind of, I'm looking
there's a lot
forward to it. It's not lonely,
no,
I
there's
guess
some
is
things
the
like
point.
it's nicer when you can have three drinks and feel okay the next morning. If I have three drinks, I need like 2 days to feel good. So
Yes, maybe even a
you
week.
you learn to take better care of yourself, and that's actually a good thing. And one of the best things about getting older is that you realize you don't have time for bullshit because
Mm-hmm.
you realize you're mortal. You start having friends that are their health is failing, and that
Mm,
that realization that time is not forever takes away a lot of ego, and you realize
yeah.
like, ah, fuck it. You don't like me? Cool, later. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that and you don't have the energy to like fight with every person or care about everything and and it gets even better when people get like into their 70s and 80s. You learn that a lot of stuff doesn't matter and it's all love.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's a gift of aging. Also, what choice do you have? Aging's the only way. I mean, there's only one way not to age,
Is to
and
die.
I don't want to do that yet, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, aging's a gift. Every chapter of life has wonderful things to offer. We reward the ones where people are physically at their peak the most, the teens,
Mm-hmm.
30s. And for what you trade in not being able to run as fast or jump as high, you gain a lot of other things: wisdom, humility, deeper friendships. There's every age has something to offer. It's just different. And when young people like to comment on my photos, like, you're old. Well, dude, you'll get old too unless you plan on dying,
Okay.
weirdo.
Right. Like, how do you think time works?
I mean, I guess one guy told me once, I'm afraid we hate aging because we're afraid of death. I said, okay, that's fair. It's the great unknown. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot avoid that. There's only one way out of the
Right.
game. So it seems to me a better use of your time than hate would be to enjoy and try to produce something that contributes to this world after your time here. That would
Mm-hmm.
be more of a useful energy to quell that fear. Um,
Right.
but well, I suppose we handle fear in different ways.
Yeah, some people have their little outbursts.
Yeah, I mean, odd. I think I did not like being in my 20s or teens. I did not like being broke. I did not like not knowing where my life was going. So I am,
The only good thing was having youth, and it was just like, is youth really so good? Like I'm young,
I didn't think it was that
but
great.
nothing is good. The shit it sucks.
I did not like it. I like my age much better now, and I have a lot of girlfriends in their 50s who they like their 50s better than anything before. So they are kind of the lucky ones who are pretty healthy, horny, happy. But one of my friends, she's 55. She loves having no more periods. She's horny as all get out. She dates like every night because she's still very beautiful. Older woman,
That
but
sounds fun.
she's living her best life, and she's not broke. And I mean, he is winning. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's all possible. It's you're 20, you're in the building phase in the 30s. That's the building phase. It's I think probably physically it's the best because you're still young, but nothing's fallen apart yet. Sexually, the dirty 30s probably the best. But it depends. It depends on the person, right?
Yeah, and like different phases. Like I think that I will say this. Now I'm way more in tune with my body and the emotion, my emotional self, and like just the urges that I have for sex are more in sync. So when I am feeling sad, I don't want sex. It used to be like the opposite.
Really?
Like, oh, this is a band-aid kind
Yeah.
of thing, which wasn't really healthy. And I like it better this way so that I am not ignoring what's going on in my life. I'm not trying to suppress feelings, suppress anything. I am fully embracing it, even if I know this is going to be a rough patch. But hey, I know who I am and this is what I'm going through. I really hate to backtrack, but I forgot to ask you about something before we go. You had mentioned something about having to put a pimp in prison.
Yeah, just that little thing. Yeah.
That was something I was curious about because it's like, how do you avoid that? And even before you avoid it, how does the typical approach, or maybe even if there is no typical, your experience with somebody approaching you and you realize this is what they're trying to do, are they direct or do they just try to fake like they're your boyfriend and then take over your life?
So yeah, they're popping up in the DMs of models all day, every day. Some of them are more obvious. They'll, the choose up, hashtag 304, join the winning team. It's pretty obvious. They're also posting photos of like, all the cash and like, it's just some are,
Yeah.
but some are less obvious. There was back in the day, there was this Taz's Angels guy. He managed like,
Oh, I remember that.
he was introducing them to like famous people. And there was financial rewards, but he would also take them to like tables at clubs. The club pays because if 8 stunning women show up, the club is more popular. So everybody's got their hand in the pocket because nothing's more powerful than a beautiful young woman. She is worth, it's like being a billionaire.
Yeah.
Being a beautiful, Marilyn Monroe said, being a pretty woman is like being a rich man. So everybody wants a piece of that. So guys will be like a model manager, put you in magazines. But then, a guy in Dubai has a yacht on the Med and he wants 10 models to be on the yacht. Okay, he's not demanding sex for money, but if you get flown out on that and you never fuck the guy with the yacht, then you never get invited again. And that even happens with runway models. My friend Nikki Dubose wrote a book about this. She worked for either Ford or Elite, I forget which, but one of the big runway modeling agencies.
Yeah.
And she would get flown to Miami, some dude's yacht, and the agency would know. And then the client, if he didn't get sex, would never hire her as a model again. So all kinds of shenanigans happen. Well,
That
people
is a
look,
tricky way to go about it.
old rich people want to fuck young beautiful people, and they use modeling as a way to meet them. So the pimps, they're I'm not a pimp, I'm just a model manager, and you come to my, like guys on the Tabler app will have a table at a club, you come and then, oh, you like this nice champagne table that was $5,000? Well, I got a way you can make more money. Let me introduce you to my friend who's an old zillionaire. He's a nice guy. Now, some women, that's 100% consensual. I think that should be decriminalized. If you're a gold digger and he's an old rich guy and you love each other, fine. End up married like the president and his wife. Gold digger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Consensual. That can happen. But it can also sometimes be an abusive situation. You're being forced to do it. you're being given drugs and now you got a coke habit, so now you have a need for way more money, so you're easier to control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of these managers will do that. They'll give you the coke because they know if now you got an expensive habit, you'll do whatever he says, right? And they
Yeah.
know that drugs are
Mm-hmm.
often the third rail of pimps because if they can get you addicted, they have more power.
Exactly.
Some men will try to get you addicted because then they want to be the guy that you call because you got a habit now, right? Anything for
Mm-hmm.
control. So, yeah, and sometimes they'll be your boyfriend. I mean, that was never a problem for me because I don't like broke guys. If a guy wanted to be my boyfriend and then he wanted me to pay for anything, I was dry as a Sahara down there. My vagina
Mm-hmm.
dries up when a guy wants me to open my wallet.
Yeah.
So I would never be attracted to a guy who asked me to like go make money for him. I would be like,
Mm-hmm.
"What? Bye." But some
That's not how
women,
this works.
no, yeah. But some women will fall for this guy. The sex is really good, and then he'll say, "We need money. Can you make money for us?" And they usually couch it in, "Well, you were dating guys for free anyway. You might as well get them to pay."
Mm.
And they'll couch it in,
Mm-hmm.
"Now you have the power because you're charging him, and you're actually like a powerful feminist, right?" And
Mm-hmm.
pimps are very good at mind games. And then some are just the gorilla pimp where they'll just force you. They'll just tell you they'll beat you. There was a guy in Barbados I talked to on a podcast, and then later he was like, "I want to fly you to Barbados to like date my rich friend." And I was obviously, "No, the fuck you're not. I'm out of the country in a country where you know people and have power. I
And I
can't,
don't
yeah,
know.
I'll be end up in a basement." Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So I, of course, didn't do that, but they try, right? They try. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they like them young because you're dumber when you're young and poor, and dumb and poor means easier to control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they come at you in all kinds of ways because beauty and youth and women are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars per month, probably, and they know that. So that will
Yeah.
never end. There will always be men trying to leech off female beauty because it's the most powerful thing on earth.
What would you advise younger women to do or look out for if they found themselves in a situation where they think somebody is trying to take advantage of them, whether they're trying to pimp them or actually traffic them or whatever?
I mean, I've never been trafficked, so I don't know. But obviously, the ones who come at me, I've been, I don't answer them, or I even get feisty if I'm bored and say, "Get the fuck you, pimp." I told one,
Mm-hmm.
the only good pimp is a dead pimp. And I'm not threatening to kill a guy. I would never.
Right.
But he fucked off after I said that because that's super psycho of me to say, and that's what I want. I
Mm-hmm.
want him to fuck off. So my advice to them is to stay away from these men, obviously. That said, in sex work, there are managers who look, some of the women in sex work are very young and honestly not very smart. And some of the managers that do the marketing for them, and it's a real problem. I don't know that some of the most vulnerable, especially like on the street in most cities in the world, without somebody helping them, I don't know that they'd be okay on their own either. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
this is why we fight for decriminalization. Because if you're on the street alone as a 19-year-old woman who weighs 100 pounds and you don't have a pimp, what can clients do to you in their cars when you're doing street-based sex work? The pimp
Mm-hmm.
serves a very useful purpose because the client has no respect for you. He has respect for the big guy with the gun. And
Yeah.
so this is the problem of a criminalized business, right? And when they did FOSTA SESTA a few years ago and they shut down escort advertising websites, many,
Mm-hmm.
many escorts went back to having a pimp. Because if you can't
Mm.
screen on the internet and you can't do safety that way before you show up, then you're going to need a pimp because the only safety you have is that. So
Yeah.
I would, the best is in countries where it's decriminalized or legalized, where they have brothels and there's security and cameras. We have that in the, what is it, 2 counties in Nevada or 1 county?
Mm-hmm.
The guys there can't fuck with you because there's security, right? It's not perfect. Brothels are often very predatory. They take all the money from the workers. They have the same
Mm-hmm.
problem that strip clubs have, where
Yeah.
everyone's leeching off the stripper and she goes home with not enough of her own money that she earned because the
Mm-hmm.
don't tip out the DJ and the doorman and the bouncer, then you don't get the customers. And it's all shitty,
Yeah.
right? But at
Mm-hmm.
least a guy can't kill her because there's security there. So it's better in that way. Australia, there's a province in Australia where brothels have to be owned by women. They can't be owned by men
Oh,
because
that's interesting.
it is, right? New Zealand's model is very interesting. The sex worker, they're just sued a client because she didn't pay her, and she won in court because they have all legal rights.
Oh.
Belgium is allowing sex workers to unionize and get like healthcare benefits and pensions and retirement benefits in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
What I would advise these women in a criminalized environment is to choose something else, is because this is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And outright sex work in America, they're making it impossible. And that's probably what they want. They want to make it impossible because this is a very, very large religious country and they just don't like it. And so if you want to date rich guys who help you, I don't know, go have drinks at the King Cole bar and just meet one the old-fashioned way. Or go, I don't know, get a job in a private jet FBO. You'll meet rich guys. Or
Uh-huh.
but outright in-person full service sex work in this country, they're hell bent on making it so unsafe that you will either need a pimp who will abuse you or you will die. And I can't believe this country does that to young broke women, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're doing. And so I cannot advise women in America to choose this form of work.
Yeah.
I think they
Uh,
should.
yeah, it does seem hard. It's like, oh, the fun stuff sounds fun, but when you really think about everything, it's a lot. And it
Uh,
is unfortunate.
yeah, I mean, and I don't know, then just date regularly on the apps, but just don't date broke ass guys if you don't like them. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, I wouldn't have. Uh,
Yeah, be more maybe be more selective, and you won't have to, or you don't have to choose to do this, and you could do something else, and you can have that one person that you meet that wants to do all of the things for you that you were looking for
yeah,
in this
they're out
line of
there.
work.
And if a
Good
pimp is
luck.
hitting on you and harassing you and telling you to choose up, my advice is to turn him into law enforcement. They call you,
Mm-hmm.
they say that they'll do stuff for you. They're weak when they meet law enforcement. And I'm no big fan of law enforcement overreach and abuse. Trust me, they've made my life hell a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But letting pimps run free and abuse women is not the way either. I think there's nothing worse than this world than a pimp. I think it's the lowest of the low. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're worried about your safety, ignore, block, delete. I think you report them to the apps. I don't think anybody should be allowing them to proliferate and run
Yeah.
purpose. I know that we'll never get rid of it completely, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should let perfect be the enemy of good and allow it. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think if you are a sex worker or or you love somebody who is and you want the laws changed, then you should participate in the advocacy to overturn Sesta Fosta, which has been the worst law in a generation that harms.
What
It's
is it
it's
exactly?
it's a law that outlawed internet sites related to sex work where we could talk and keep each other safe and alive. We could screen
Mm-hmm.
clients. We could communicate about the ones who were serial killers and rapists. They shut
Mm-hmm.
they shut those down in America. They made them illegal, and
Mm-hmm.
there's still a few trying to survive. Most are offshore, and they don't care about us in America.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst law in a long time, and it has resulted in a return to street-based work under the hand of pimps, and indirectly has resulted in the death of sex workers. And this law, which Trump signed, has to be overturned. It's a disastrous law for sex work, and it's a huge mistake. So
Mm-hmm.
people should there are people trying to overturn it. And if you care, sorry, rant over.
No,
But
I'm all for it because we recorded last night and I was like, I this is not a political show at all, and I'm not even in the right position to be talking about anything too in detail, but I just want to remind everybody, especially the women, everybody, but especially women, we have to vote. Now, if you're not going to I'm not going to tell you to vote for it, but if you're not going to vote the right way, I don't really care if you vote or not. I'll say that. But for everybody who's going to vote the right way, like really look at stuff and don't look at social media, blog pages, gossip pages for as a resource of information to what is really going on. I've been reading the comments on posts and things like that and just looking at everything that people are posting. It's like some of y'all I don't think y'all need to go back and watch Schoolhouse Rock. I did go back and check. It is available for free on YouTube. You can watch Schoolhouse Rock to understand how the government works. The videos are very short. I know the attention spans are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You can watch it and understand. And I wish that people understood how You can have one president who works his entire presidency to work towards something, and then the next president, those laws and policies are enacted. So now it looks like things are better because of this person, because this is who's in office now, when the last person spent 8 years getting something happening. And then it's like, okay, well, one person was here for 4 years and he fucked up everything, and now 4 years later, you're blaming on the next person. Not that anybody is ever perfect. We know that they're not perfect, but for real, y'all, think about the things and the issues that you care about. And then do your own due diligence to figure out, is it the president? Is it my state? Is it my county? Is it my city, my parish, whatever? Who really makes the decisions about these issues that I have? And then figure out where things lie. But we do need to vote. And that's just period.
And get
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
There's
Hey.
political action committees that back all kinds of brilliant young people. If you care
Mm-hmm.
about, it's you guys who will have the future. We fucked it
Mm-hmm.
up, so good luck, kids.
Right. And it's like, there are things that happen. I don't think people even understand how the Supreme Court works, but I don't want to get on my soapbox about politics today. I did so enjoy our conversation. We kind of went down a different path than I thought, but I thought it was great. It was very interesting to hear someone so well spoken about this industry. And I really appreciated your honesty about the good and the bad, and just real experiences and advice and things to think about when it comes to this, whether you're in it or not. Because it's not just about, you can care about sex workers and their rights without being one. It doesn't have to be about you. And so maybe you know somebody, or maybe you don't. But think about the issues that can happen. And when we get off of here again, I'm going to look up that case you told me about, the lady who just got murdered. That's so awful. But so many things happen like that all the time. I'm a true crime podcast, TV show, everything, junkie, books, all of it. And so often the cases that are unsolved, it's like once they find out that you're a sex worker, it's just like, oh, who cares? And it's just like, excuse me? This is a person.
When I sued
Or,
to try to keep my life safe, 3 judges tried to throw my case out of court, saying that I was a piece of shit who didn't deserve to fight for my life. And I had a lawyer who was more pushy and annoying than me, and so the fourth time we finally prevailed. But
well, thank goodness.
yeah, my lawyer is an old friend from college, and he's not afraid of anybody or anything. And that's what you want in a lawyer. But yeah, I mean, I'm out there, Amy Taylor NYC on all the socials. I I think this work is too hard, but if somebody's watching this and they're hell bent on choosing the life I chose, all the info's out there. There's YouTube channels and books and TikToks, or less TikTok, but Instagram. And there's those of us veterans who want you to be alive, even though we wish you would do something else. Like, just, you know, be safe and reach out to others. There's a community of us on whisper channels everywhere. And again, I think you should choose something else, but I will always fight to keep my people alive because you matter. And,
Yes.
and I love whores.
Me too. We make the world go round.
Right?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today. I will make sure that I link your socials and your website in the description of this. If there's anything else you want to add, now is the time to say it.
Just that sex worker rights are human rights. And yes, you all know somebody who's a sex worker, even if you don't know it.
Maybe you just don't know it. Yeah, like you're saying. Because you might have made that person feel like they can't tell you. And you should also check that too. Because you don't want your loved ones to feel alone. Anyway, you guys, sex workers' rights are human rights. Remember that. Amy Taylor told you, and I'm co-signing it. Make sure that you stay subscribed to our Patreon. I appreciate it. And leave some comments, drop your thoughts. Let us know if you learned anything new, or maybe this conversation helped you gain a new perspective on anything at all. Would love to have the feedback. And on that note, we're going to go and stay subscribed. We appreciate it. And bye, you guys.